Anthony Harwig here with another edition of YSN's Hot Corner. Special guest this time is Kent State standout former professional softball player, now new associate head coach at Kent State, Emma Johnson. Emma, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this week.
No, thank you.
And as I've gone through your accolades of your career, but YSN, we cover a lot of high school athletics. So I want to start by asking you, what are some of your fondest memories of your high school career and that part of your life and playing softball in high school?
Well, my high school career. So I grew up in Groveport, Ohio. It's the southeast side of Columbus. Um, we weren't very good. So that was, I think that it was nice to, be on a team and have a leadership role right when I got there as a freshman. And, like the camaraderie of like being on a team that wasn't very good, but by my senior year, we ended up winning the league. So I think that like that experience really helped me, throughout my career. And plus, just playing with a lot of my high school friends, like my best friends were on the team. And I don't know, it's just like, it's a fond memory just because I got so much experience from that.
Talk about your recruitment process while you were in high school and what kind of the stages that you went through and why you kind of decided on Kent State.
Okay, so my recruiting process, I don't think that I really took the recruiting process as serious as we do nowadays. I didn't really know what I wanted to go to school for. I didn't know where I wanted to go to school. And at the time, I really didn't care. I think that like I was just more focused on playing the game that I loved, and it was less of a business then. I think that's changed a little bit, which is sad. But I was just playing with my friends, and I was, doing something I loved. We went to some competitive tournaments, and there's coaches watching, and I had interest from different conferences, and I went on a visit to Kent State my junior year, I believe, and I just loved it instantly. I've always went to camps at Kent State. We had team camps, individual camps, pitching camps, and it just like felt like home to me. There was just no other place like it. So,
Were you kind of set and staying in Ohio when you went to college, or were you looking all around the country?
I was looking south at one point. I thought I wanted to go south, but I realized very quickly that I get super homesick and it was too hot for me. So I decided to stay in Ohio, which I also hate the snow. So it was kind of weird because I was like kind of in the snow belt at Kent State. But it didn't snow too bad. So
When you kind of stepped on Kent State's campus your freshman season and you realized that it was for real, that you were a D1 softball player, what was that kind of experience like?
I think it was humbling. I knew that I had to earn a spot, and I think a lot of the times when freshmen come in, it goes from like big fish, small pond to big pond, small fish, and I think that I had that realization, and you know, I wanted to earn a spot, and I wanted to prove myself to the older girls, especially. And I think I did that, and I think I learned a lot from the older girls immediately. Because I didn't understand what the MAC conference was, and I didn't understand what it meant to, my first weekend out as a freshman, I was playing against Oklahoma and Minnesota, and I had no idea like what that really meant. So it was
You talked
interesting.
you talked about the MAC conference. I've had a chance to watch it a lot. The tournament at Firestone Stadium. It's a unique conference in the way that how competitive everybody is, how gritty all the teams are. What was it
Mhm.
like playing in the MAC?
you know, any day anybody could win. There was never a clear winner. Everyone had to come out. Like you had to be on your game. Like no matter if it's a team at the bottom of the conference or a team at the top of the conference, like it was just a toss of who's going to win. You had to be on your game every single time. So the team that was the most consistent won. And you would even see that team that nobody went undefeated. Like it is a very scrappy and gritty league, and that's what I really loved about it. And the MAC conference is, the hottest team at the right time, and also the grittiest team.
What was it like getting to play the tournament at one of the premier softball stadiums in the country, a host of professional softball, and getting to step on that dirt and play in the tournament there?
I loved it. I love the stadium feel. There's nothing like it. And, we always talk about like, oh, Babe Ruth played on this field, and, he probably hit it out. The fences were like 300 feet, it felt like. I'm not sure how much it really was, but no, it was great. It really gave you that game that had, the I don't know, the championship feel. Like it was just different.
You're one of the more decorated players in Kent State history. Talk about what it was like going through that program, what the experiences were like, and how proud you were that you kind of went to Kent State and you were able to play with that uniform for 4 seasons.
Going through Kent State, I mean, and the reason why I really wanted to go to Kent State was just the rich program history. Coach Linder was there at the time, and she talked about all the great pitchers she had, and it made me want to come in and be one of those pitchers, and I think that, along with all the coaching that I got, and, all the support from my teammates, it made it a fun place to play. There's no culture like Kent State, in my opinion. Obviously I'm biased, but I think that was the difference for me. And I think that, having that culture going through, it didn't make it seem like it was just like a day in, day out, like, I'm here for school and I have a scholarship. Like it was like, I want to win for Kent State. And, I wasn't, looking at the accolades, or I just wanted to win a championship, and, like with my team. And I don't know, it's just, it was just such a priceless memory that, I'll just never forget. And, you meet your best friends there.
You graduate from Kent State, and then you get drafted 25th overall into the MPF draft. What was that kind of realization like when you heard your name called and you knew that you were going to the professional level?
Unbelievable. I couldn't really believe it at the time. I was just a mid-major kid, and I didn't think that those dreams were possible. And it was honestly just amazing to hear that. And, I have twin brothers that are 9 years old or younger than me. And I remember, he was taking video of the draft, and I was drafted, and you can just hear my mom yelling in the background because, she was just so excited. And then you could hear my little brother crying in the background. It was so cute. But yeah, it was completely humbling. And that experience overall was just, I would never trade that for the world either.
You had to play 2 seasons with the PA Rebellion. You got to play in Washington. You got to play in a baseball stadium shared by the Wild Things. What was that whole experience in PA like, and playing for that team, and getting to know people from all around the country that came to play in the professional softball family?
Professional softball, like in a whole, like the NPF, it was such a fun experience. It gave, women softball players like an outlet to, like, feel like a professional. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity. Pennsylvania was interesting. It was a little different than Ohio. We lived at Cal U in their Vulcan Village apartments, and it was a little bit different just because, California, Pennsylvania is a lot smaller, like one stoplight small, and I wasn't used to that. None of us were really used to that, actually. So, we would go down to the pool at Vulcan Village, or like we would go into Washington, and that kind of felt like a city for a minute. But like the travel was just it was so fun. Like we were never really there. We were in Chicago or Florida or Texas. We'd be leaving on a Tuesday, coming back on a Friday, and it was so continuous that it didn't really feel like we were just in that town all the time. but no, it was very fun. I actually really enjoyed playing on the baseball field with the turf, and it was a nice facility. It really was, and the locker room was great, and the fans are great. We had some diehard fans, and that always made it really fun. Yeah, I really liked that stadium and that experience.
Professional softball was a grind. You said there was so much travel. It was condensed season. You guys weren't getting paid that much. You were just doing it for the love of the game. What was it like, kind of knowing you were going through that in the hopes that someday a professional softball league would be big enough where you weren't just doing it for the love of the game, but you were also doing it to kind of try to make a living?
Yeah. I don't think anyone is doing it for the money. You don't do that for the money. And it's for the opportunity and the love of the game and continuing on for the little girls who dream of playing professional softball. It's just, yeah, I don't even know what all to say about it. It was just like, the opportunity was tremendous, and all the expenses that the league pays out in order to have that opportunity and play in front of the younger girls, and still giving that opportunity to the girls that are coming to college, etc. It's just amazing.
I'm sure you got a lot of fan appreciation in your Kent State career, but I'm sure it also went up a tick when you went into the professional level and you got to meet the fans. You got to go through the autograph lines, and you got to kind of see firsthand what kind of role model you were being. What was that experience like?
Um, I think along with a couple other players on the team, it helped the younger girls see that just because I wasn't a Power Five girl, but I still had the opportunity to play professionally, and I think a lot of people, they need to see that, and I hope that I inspired some younger girls to play at the mid-major level. Like sometimes that's just the fit for you. It was the fit for me.
Then you went back to Kent State and you started to be an assistant coach. Was coaching always kind of an aspiration for you that you wanted, that you knew you wanted that as your goal?
Actually, it wasn't, which is kind of funny because Coach Linder always made fun of me for it because she was like, "You should be a coach," and I'm like, "I'm not being a coach." I didn't think I was going to. I actually, when I graduated college, I had a job as a auditor for Ernst and Young, so like accounting, and I jumped right into it, and I was still playing professionally my next year, my second year, and after I finished that year, I was just like, I can't do accounting anymore. I miss softball. And that's when Coach Oakley called me up and he was like, "Hey, a spot just opened. Like, would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, like this is like my, it felt like the path that I needed to go." And, right when I got into it, I absolutely loved it. And I'm so happy that I changed career fields because, happiness is the goal in life. So.
And I'm sure it was icing on the cake to kind of go and coach for Kent State and be back to where you made your home as a college softball player.
Right. Yeah. It was just like, you want to give back to the school that invested in you. And yeah, it's amazing to go to the school that, or coach at the school that, I was with. It's a whole new meaning when, you're doing recruiting and talking to the girls, and it's just like, you have such love and they could see that.
What was it like going from the player mentality and then having to switch that to a coach's mentality?
It was pretty hard. There's times that you want to put on a jersey and, play, but it's hard sometimes. I think that when you're coaching, one of the biggest skill sets is how you can communicate what you're thinking to another player. And I was fortunate enough to have lessons a lot when I was growing up. I was always giving lessons when I was in high school and college and et cetera. And so I think I got to really use that skill and have that, when I came to college. And I was fortunate, enough to, I can communicate really well with, the pitchers and the catchers. And I think that helped me a lot. And, that clear communication and just trying to, share what I'm thinking, and then have them also bounce ideas back off of me. And it's just a nice communication line, really, that helped me a lot.
So you put in your time as an assistant, and big news for you in the last couple of weeks, you got promoted to associate head coach. What does that mean to you that you kind of are taking that stepping stone?
I mean, it was just such a nice surprise during a pandemic, really. Coach Oakley, I'm so grateful for the opportunity that he gave me, just to be a coach at Kent State. And it was just, I felt like it was a further investment, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm grateful for everyone at Kent State for, just like, I guess believing in me and, seeing, how much I love Kent State. It was a really nice surprise during all of this. So, I'm just very happy about it.
You don't see that title associate head coach in a while, a lot. So what's the responsibility shift from your assistant role as now associate head coach role?
I'm not sure how much different it'll be for me. I guess it's really just it's a title change, but I think in general, like our staff really, we communicate as a whole, and I think that we'll continue just to keep communicating as a whole, and we're all very involved in all the decisions that we make, and I'm grateful that Coach Oakley allows that, because I think that what we talked about before, it creates more of an organic culture, and I think that we get the most out of that. So I'm not sure what exactly the responsibilities. I guess we haven't really had our meeting about that, but I think it's really not much of a change. It's still all of us together.
You're the first current college head coach we've had on the Hot Corner. So from your perspective, what's this pandemic been like going through it as a head coach and trying to navigate the waters of a pandemic while you're trying to also do your job and build a program?
It's crazy. Back in March, when the virus was starting to come out, and we're traveling, we're pretty into our season. We're going to start conference in a couple of weeks at that point, and we were going to go fly down to Oklahoma, and all of a sudden you're just like, wait, should we be flying? This is going around. We don't know anything about it. People are dying. People are getting sick. And I think that's literally the day before, like that day, we decided we can't go. We cannot, put our girls in danger. We don't feel comfortable. And then the next day, Kent State closes their classes. And then the day after that, everyone is shutting down. It was so fast. And at first our girls were like, wow, this is weird, and they're like, wait, what? Like they kept asking us questions, like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And for the first time, it's like, the adults don't know, and you're asking questions, to your sports administrators and your athletic director. You're like, what? I don't know what's going on. And it was very hard. And, when the NCAA, ended the championship seasons, it was very hard to communicate that to the girls, because, they still had so many questions and we didn't have the answers. And it was extremely sad to see, some of the seniors that aren't coming back with their extra year leave with unfinished business, and you hate to see that. But the extra year of eligibility is nice. But going into the summer now with recruiting and, trying to continue to build, a program, we've been watching a lot of virtual games, which have been a challenge in itself. I'm sure that you've seen like all the buffering and the tweets about that, and it does buffer, by the way. But it's hard. It's very hard. A lot of communication between all of us coaches, and as a conference, with our coach association, and it's a lot. It's still changing, and we still don't have answers. And I'm hopeful that we can get back to normal sometime soon, but I think that's wishful thinking. Hopefully we'll get back to normal.
You said that the extra year eligibility was huge for the players that do decide to come back and take that
Hmm.
extra year, but it also hurts the recruiting process. There's not as many spots as there would be in a normal kind of situation. How have you guys as a coaching staff navigated that whole situation where you have more players on the roster than maybe you expected in a normal season?
Well, we're actually pretty fortunate because we carry a large roster, so I think that we're used to managing that roster. So that part, it really didn't affect us too much. So, um, yeah, it just, I think we're lucky with that sense, and it hasn't affected our recruiting classes.
Well, that's awesome to hear because I
Hmm.
don't know how many colleges are in that boat with you. Watching all the virtual games, there are challenges to it. You can't see everything you want to. What has been kind of the focus when you're watching these virtual games? What kind of things are you guys looking for as a coaching staff?
I think one of the good things about the virtual games is that I feel like you might not be able to see everything, but you can see who's running on and off the field, who's hustling, who's, picking up the ball with their hand opposed to your glove, like you can see the effort level. And you can also hear the parents in the live stream sometimes, which is kind of funny what they talk about. Um, but I think that though I can't see the outfielders, I can hear the parents talking about the outfielders, like, oh, that's a great catch, diving play, like etc. But for the first time, like I can really see the catcher so good, you know what I mean? And live you can see the catcher, but it's like I can really focus on the catcher, and I can screen record now. I can record everyone's at bats. I can record great plays, and I think before I have mediocre videos of hitting, and you're trying to get angles and it's a mess. But that's actually been a positive is getting all these recordings of potential, student athletes and, seeing, okay, I'm not there and they don't know I'm watching during the game. And like, how are they responding?
We'll probably have a lot of parents and travel coaches watching this because we get a lot of views. So, what are the do's and don'ts from a college coach when it comes to the virtual games? What are some of the things that you've seen that work really well when they're filming, and what are some of the things that you've seen that you kind of think that need to be improved on? If you could give advice to people that were filming the games.
I think one of the most helpful things is when somebody's announcing in the background, because there's times where you can't, if it's too pixely, you can't see numbers, or you cannot see the defense at all. Like sometimes I'll have to pause it and see who runs out to what position if I can tell like by their hair who it is. So I think reading, is there any defensive change or changes like who's at shortstop, who's in center field, because there's no chance I can see the outfielders. I can see the pitcher, I can see the catcher pretty clearly. Everyone else, I can't see at all. So that's super, super helpful. Having the camera up a little bit above the catcher and the umpire is super helpful. Directly behind, sometimes the umpire gets in the way and you can't really see the batter or the pitcher. Um, Other than that, I think I'm just actually really grateful that the travel coaches and players and the parents have, they've kind of just went with the times and, it's making it possible for this virtual recruiting. I think that's so important and I'm so thankful for that because, if it wasn't for them, I'd probably be bored all day, not, watching TV instead of games. So um, I would say also be aware of, the camera's on, we can hear everything. Um, and other than that, I think that that's pretty much about it. I'm not very picky, so I just like to know who's where.
As a college coach, what advice would you give to the players, especially in the 2022 class, that are trying to kind of expose themselves in this kind of situation where, coaches aren't coming to their games, but they still have to go in there. They're doing the travel ball, and what kind of advice would you give them?
I would say, don't panic. I think that this entire pandemic, everyone's been panicking. Like we're in the same boat as they are. Like they want to play in college, and we have spots for girls to fill. So as long as we're doing the process right, you're going to find the right home. And, even if it's, maybe later than we anticipated, then that's okay. The most important thing is keep emailing, follow us on Twitter. I can't believe that I'm even saying that, but like Twitter is like the new thing. And I'm directly on my phone all the time. If somebody's following me or tagging me in the video, I'm watching it. Like what else do I have to do? So I would say those are two really big things. And, keep emailing us. Like, you got to keep bugging us because, we have a lot of girls emailing us. Like, what are you doing to stick out? But I would say, honestly, just, you got to try to calm yourself and just play the game you love and not think about it as, like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? What if they don't like me? That's okay. It's whatever the fit is. It has to be right for us and it has to be right for you too. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes we think you're the right fit, but you don't necessarily think so, or vice versa. So I would say, stay calm and try to find your place and be realistic.
Can you share your Twitter handle and your email for players that watch this and maybe want to reach out to you?
Yeah, it's ejohnson2779 is my Twitter handle. You could probably find it somewhere on Kent State Softball. And my email is ejohns, JOHNS 54 @kent.edu.
Awesome. Now, I know you've been busy with the virtual recruiting, but what have been some of the quarantine activities that have kept you sane while you have to stay in the house during the last couple months?
I would say probably my dog. So I went home and I was with my parents for most of the quarantine. They couldn't stand the thought that I was up at Kent because I don't know why. I don't know if they thought that I wasn't going to be eating or something, which is hard to believe. But no, it's really my dog that's laying next to me sleeping and running. I think running keeps me sane. It's actually been nice because when I was home in Columbus, I got to spend an absurd amount of time with my brothers that I haven't had that time with since I've been, coaching. So that's been super nice. And we played a lot of cards. What else did we do? A lot of Netflix. I'm really big fan of Netflix. Other than that, I guess that's really it.
You open it up. What's your current Netflix binge right now?
What did I just finish? Oh gosh. I can't even think of what I just finished, but I'm on Roswell right now.
All right, girl, coming to Kent State to visit. What's the one spot on campus that is the go-to, have to be there spot to be at?
We have a really cool downtown. It's pretty new. I don't know what spots. It really depends on the person. Like, are you a pizza person? Are you a taco person? But the downtown, it has frozen yogurt. It has, a bunch of sandwich shops. There's, my favorite is probably Ray's. Ray's has everything that you can ever desire, and it's so good. I would say just downtown in general is the spot to be.
Northeast Ohio, known for their pizza. So how does Kent State pizza scene? What's that like?
There's a couple of pizza spots. Coach Oakley's the pizza guy. He likes Philly pizza. I'm not much of a pizza person. I know it's rare, but
What?
yeah.
We'll let that slide. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your time. It was great to hear from a coach's perspective of everything that's going on, and we definitely appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.